and welcome. I'm Laura Briggs with the Vegan Fitness Runner podcast, where I'll be talking all things running, health and fitness, and what it means to be an active vegan. Cathryn Scott is a journalist and mum of three. She runs a blog called Cardiff Mummy Says and is co-founder of the all-female Cardiff running club, She Runs Cardiff. Cathryn only came to running 5 years ago, around the same time she went vegan. She's already run 4 ultramarathons. Hello, Cathryn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you ever so much. You must have been very busy over the summer holidays with your 3 children.
They certainly keep me busy, that's true. But yeah, we had a good summer, apart from the weather, but, went away, got out of it. It was good fun, yeah.
The weather was really rubbish during the whole of the summer, wasn't it? And then we had that massive heat wave, which was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Cathryn, how do you fit in your running in and around having 3 kids?
Do you know, that's a really interesting question, because for my children, I had the 3 of them within just over 4 years. So they were all young together and it was crazy. And I wasn't doing anything for me. And it was really impacting my mental health, I think. And I was talking to a friend whose children are older than mine, and she has 4 children. And she said, well, do you put your children's swimming lessons into the calendar? Do you put this into the calendar? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, well, you need to put something in the calendar for you. You need to say on this time, on this day, I'm going to the gym, or I'm going to do yoga or whatever. And that was just life-changing advice to me, because it never occurred to me. I was just waiting for time to occur for me to do things, and it wasn't going to happen. And as soon as I said, to my husband and my kids, like, Mummy needs to do something. And that was just life-changing advice. So just literally putting it in the calendar. So a few years on, it is hard, especially when you're training for long events, so I've done a few ultra marathons now, and when you're trying to fit in a 20-mile run around work and family life, it can be hard. But I think a lot of early mornings and understanding family, and we make it work somehow.
You said that understanding family, I think that's key, isn't it? Because how did they respond when you said, right, this is time set aside for me?
They were really supportive, actually. I think, I think as soon as I said it to my husband, he was like, yeah, you're so right. You do need to do something, because I was working from home around my children. I was doing, like the default parent, really, doing everything for the kids. And I think he could see that I needed some time away from it. And the first thing I did was went back to yoga classes, and I just knew straight away that it was the best thing that I'd done, because I felt like a different person. So I think their understanding, really kind of enabled me to, if they hadn't understood, then I don't know what I would have done. But, luckily we find a way. And the same for him as well. He goes off and plays golf, or he'll go to the gym or whatever. And I think it's really important that you do take that time for you. You need to meet your needs, really, to make sure that you can be everything you need to be for everybody else. And I think when my children were young, I wasn't doing that, and it was having an impact on me. And because it was impacting me, it was impacting everyone.
So a few people have actually asked me, Cathryn, being a mum as well, do I suffer from mum guilt when I go out and I do a run? Or maybe, you just talking about going out on a 20-miler, for example. Do you feel guilty being away from your children now, or have you learnt to accept that that's your time and it's necessary?
It's a hard one, isn't it? Because I do sometimes feel that guilt, especially if I'm missing something, like if I'm missing my son's football game, or if I'm missing, something that's important to them. But then if that's my only window to run, so yeah, I do struggle with it. And it is funny that it's mum guilt, isn't it? I don't know that dads feel the same. So it is something I struggle with, but it's something I know that I need to do that for me. Otherwise, I just feel cranky and horrible, and then I have mum guilt.
Absolutely. I've been asked before, actually, I can't remember which particular race it was I was doing. It was maybe something last year. And somebody said to me, oh, who are you doing this run for? And I immediately answered, I'm doing it for me. I think they wanted me to say, oh, I'm doing it to inspire my children, or I'm doing it for my family. And I said, no, I'm doing it for me. And once I'd said that, I thought, oh, how's that going to look? Like in society, does that look bad if I say I'm doing something for myself? But I think it's really important that we do things for ourselves as mums, because actually we spend most of our lives doing things for other people, don't we?
You're so right. And I love that. I'm doing it for me. That's how I feel about the events that I do. And, if it inspires other people, then that's wonderful. But primarily it's me, it's my well-being. It's for me to feel like I'm achieving something and working towards something. And yeah, that I love that though, doing it for me.
And actually, you are inspiring other people through what you're doing, Cathryn, because you're going out there and you're showing that, you're a busy mum, you do everything for your children, but still you're finding that time to do things for yourself, and you're achieving these amazing things. You've done how many ultra marathons now?
I've done 4 now.
Which is fabulous. Well done.
I never thought I'd be the person who would run ultra marathons, though. It's like me of 5 years ago would never have believed it.
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you about a little bit, actually, because, you've obviously come to ultra marathons a little bit later on. What was it that inspired you to do that?
Well, I never set out to run an ultra marathon. I set out, it was 6 months before my 40th birthday. And I just wanted to, I just felt unfit and unhealthy, and I just wanted to do something for me to feel a bit better about myself. So I joined the gym. I got to the gym and I didn't really know what to do. And I kind of hopped on the treadmill because I thought, I can do that. I'd run a little bit before, I'd done like Race for Life, like years and years. So I thought, I know what I'm doing. I'll go on the treadmill. And I was like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. And so I just thought, right, okay, so my birthday's in 6 months. By my birthday, I want to be able to run 10K. So I thought it was quite a reasonable target. And then somewhere along the lines, I got persuaded to sign up to Cardiff Half Marathon. And it took me weeks to have the courage to do that. So I thought, there's no way I can do a half marathon. I could never run for that long. And I had a couple of friends who were, quite devoted runners who were like, oh no, you can do it. You'll be fine. So I did it, and completely amazed myself when I crossed that finish line. I was so emotional, couldn't stop crying because I couldn't believe that me, who was just this completely non-sporty person, had done this half marathon. And then from there, it just grew. And then with a group of other women who I'd met within the running community here in Cardiff, we set up a social running club, and our aims were that running should be inclusive, because I'm not the fastest, and so we wanted to appeal to all women and just kind of say that this is for you, this is for your health, your well-being. So we set up this running club, and then as soon as you start surrounding yourself with these really positive people, and one of your friends might do a marathon, and you think, well, if she's done a marathon and she's a working mum just like me, then maybe I could do it. And because people I knew were doing all these things, it just made me think, oh, maybe I could. And so I was training for my first marathon, and we happened to be away on holiday. It was in August 2020, so just after all the lockdown restrictions had lifted, and we were staying in West Wales. And I'd been following this guy on Instagram called Rhys Jenkins, and I said to my husband, oh, it's this man, he's running around Wales. He was trying to be the fastest person doing the Wales coastal path, and he happened to be passing through where we were on holiday. And I said, let's go and run with him. And my husband was like, you don't even know this guy. And I was like, yeah, but it'll be a fun thing to do. So I went, and I think he was 9 at the time, my 9-year-old, we ran for a little bit with him, and talking to him and him explaining to me how ultra marathons work, and that you're not just pounding the pavements, it's a slower pace. You might stop and walk the hills, and you stop at the checkpoints and stuff. And he actually runs a company called Pegasus, who do trail running events. And he basically persuaded me to sign up for one of his events. So yeah,
And here we are. And
here we
I
are.
love
Fully.
I love
Yeah.
how you met Reese. I mean, a lot of people listening will probably have heard of Reese Jenkins. He's an amazing
Well, he's
runner.
awesome. He's one of my biggest inspirations. He's just amazing.
And what you've told me shows people that it really is inclusive, isn't it? If you turn up to an ultra run and you run a few miles with somebody or you join them on the trails, they will happily chat to you and you'll suddenly make new friends. And that's a lot of what certainly ultra running or just trail running generally is about, isn't it? Do you love that community feel about it?
It really is a community. And I remember turning up at my first ultra, which is the Vale of Glamorgan Ultra Marathon, which is a 40-mile coastal route. And just getting there and being like, oh, these are my people. We're there at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, ready to run 40 miles. And you think, most regular people aren't doing that. And it does bond you by the fact that you've shown up to do this thing. And I volunteered at one of the Pegasus events as well, at the next year's Vogum, and I was on the checkpoint, and that was an amazing experience because there were people I'd met on other runs, and they were coming through, and you're helping them on the checkpoint, and it's just the most amazing community. It really is.
I think I started out before I'd ever run an ultra saying about other ultra runners that they were absolutely insane and that I'd never ever run an ultra and what could possibly be going through their brain. And then you're right, you surround yourself with people that do these incredible things and suddenly it becomes a little bit normal. And outside my sphere of ultra running friends, people, my friends in what I call real life, they think I'm absolutely bonkers. And I forget that it can look to, somebody who doesn't run, perhaps, it can look a little bit crazy. What do you say to them?
Yeah, I completely agree. I vividly remember catching up with a friend whose husband was an ultra marathon runner before I'd even started running. And I was like, why would you want to do that? That sounds horrible. That sounds completely bonkers. And just being so horrified by the idea of this. But then it's funny, isn't it? Like you start running and I didn't intend to be an ultra runner. I just wanted to get to 5K and then 10K. And when you achieve something, personally, I just get such an incredible feeling from that. It makes me feel invincible. It makes me feel like I can achieve things. It makes me feel mentally stronger, and that translates into my life away from running as well. And then, you do one thing, you do another thing, and you start thinking, oh, maybe I could do the next thing. And so, you 5K, 10K, half marathon, and then it was like ultra, and I mean, I still think it's quite a crazy thing to do, but what I get out of it, it's just so worthwhile.
And it becomes difficult in a way, doesn't it, to stop and to know what to do next and how far you're going to go, because once you've done one ultra, it's really hard to say that's it now, I'm done, because you've got this level of fitness that maybe you didn't have before, and you think, I don't want to lose that now. I'm kind of on a roll. I'd like to keep that fitness. And also, like you said, that feeling you get when you achieve something incredible, it's really hard to let go of that. So do you always have something kind of maybe in the back of your head that you think you're going to reach for next? Is there always that next thing? Or do you ever have any kind of downtime away from that?
That's a good question, actually, because at the moment I don't have anything booked in. And I'm toying with a few things for next year, and I'm not quite sure what to do. And we've got a little WhatsApp group with some of my ultra friends, and people are signing up for things. And I'm like, oh, I'm not sure what to do. And it's that FOMO. So some of my friends are doing this event. Shall I go and do that? And it's interesting what you said about when you surround yourself with these people, though, it does become your norm. And I have to constantly remind myself sometimes that, I don't have to do everything that everyone else is doing. It's okay. So some of my friends have done some of the longer kind of 60-mile ultra runs. People like yourself doing the Dragon's Back. I think, it's finding what's a reasonable next thing for me to do without kind of taking off too much just because everyone else is doing it. So I don't have anything planned at the moment, but I'm sure there'll be something.
I'm sure there will be, because it can be a frenzy, can't it? You can get yourself into this, this frenzy where you think, oh my God, I've got to sign up because everybody else is doing this. And then sometimes, like, I'm the same. I have to really just take a step back and think, actually, that might break me. So I'm going to take it a little bit slower or do something more that I've chosen to do and not something I've been railroaded into. It's a bit of a happy medium, isn't it? A bit of a balancing act, I suppose.
I think because my family are very supportive, but I've had a few kind of back-to-back events, and I think it's quite nice to have a little bit of downtime as well, and to not focus on something perhaps. So saying that though, I know I'll be itching to do something soon.
How do your children respond to your running? Are they interested in the sport, or do they just support you?
No, they are interested. My children, so my daughter is 13, and then my son is just turned 12, and then my youngest son is 9, and they all run to a certain degree. I think they go through phases with it. None of them are kind of like club runners or anything like that, but they run enough that they understand it. And when I first met with Rhys Jenkins, my middle child came along and ran with us, and he loved that, and he's they are good little runners. And I think they see how much I get out of it, and I love that it's just normal for them, like not just that I run, but all these other people who are just regular people. None of us are pro athletes or anything. We're just regular people living regular lives who do these extraordinary things, and they've really got to know people within the running community, which I think is lovely. And I try not to push it on them too much. Sometimes they need a bit of encouragement, but I never want to kind of force them to run. I just like to think that if they want to run, they can see that it's achievable for them. Saying that, when I was on the last ultra that I did, I was so sweaty, and none of them would come and give me a hug. They were like, "No, you're stinky."
I get that all the time. Actually, I agree with you. I think for my children, they don't necessarily. I mean, they're 12 and 9, and they're not necessarily going to be into, certainly not ultra running. But my son's not hugely into running, but he might come for a 5K with me or something. But what they get out of seeing me finishing races is not so much a desire to run, but it's seeing that we can achieve things that possibly we thought at one point might be beyond our grasp. And from my perspective, I think it's about teaching our children that, you have to take chances on things, and it's okay to fail sometimes as well, but that actually putting a bit of effort in and believing in yourself is actually really important. And that's what I think they get from me running, certainly. Is that the same with you?
You're so right. Yeah, I love what you said then. It's about showing them that I can do hard things, and I can kind of do things that I didn't think I could. And you don't just wake up one day and run an ultra. It's a long process that you're working towards it and training towards it. And my daughter was struggling with her maths recently, and it takes her longer to understand it than some other people in her class. She seems to have a lot of very bright people in her class. And I said to it's like with the running, it takes me longer to get there than some people who speed through these ultras, but I take my time, I do it methodically, and I get there. And I think she was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and I think there's a lot of lessons in running that you can take into everyday life.
Totally agree. Yeah. So the mantra "slow and steady wins the race" was always one in our house, and it doesn't, literally mean that you're going to win, but it means that you'll get there, and it doesn't matter what the pace is, because ultimately you'll have the same result, because you're going to get exactly the same place that everybody else got. It might just take you a little bit longer.
And also you don't have to compare yourself to everybody else running or doing maths, just focus on you and have your journey. And it has made me a stronger person, absolutely, because we all have those runs where you just want to quit after like 3 miles or whatever, and you're running in the rain or whatever, and you think, I can't do this, and you just think, right, just concentrate on the next 5 minutes or just concentrate on the next mile. And then suddenly you've done it. And it is, it's such a kind of profound experience that you then take into your life and think, well, I can run a 40-mile ultra. Of course, I can handle this difficult conversation on the phone or whatever,
No, that's absolutely true. It's one step at a time, isn't it? And breaking things down into chunks. So, yeah, agreed. Running is a huge, kind of gives you life lessons along the way, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm also quite interested, Cathryn, that you started running kind of 5 years ago, which was about the time you went vegan as well. Is that right?
Yeah. The two kind of happened about the same time. So I've been... So I'm 45 now. I've been vegetarian since I was 12. And I'd kind of had sporadic periods of being vegan, and I'd be fine at home. And then as soon as I went anywhere, I couldn't eat anything. And, it was really hard. And then I was like, right, I'm going to do it again. And so suddenly it just kind of correlated with the rise of vegan food being available everywhere. And so whereas before I'd have like maybe 3 weeks of eating a completely vegan diet at home, and then I'd go somewhere and it'd be like, well, I can either not eat or I can eat something with like cheese in or whatever. And then suddenly you could go somewhere and you could always order something. So that was like really kind of helped me shift that kind of battle of being places. So it was about the same time. And it's been about 5.5 years now.
And have you seen any changes? Because you were vegetarian, obviously, before that. Have you seen any kind of health benefits to you going vegan, or is it kind of not much has changed? And did you find any challenges to going vegan, having been a veggie?
I've never found it challenging, apart from it was hard to eat out before there was just kind of this whole kind of change in mindset, like nationally. So I've never found it challenging. The thing that's challenging is other people, because you feel like you're constantly having to defend yourself, or they feel like you're judging them. So I guess I try not to talk about it too much, or be one of those kind of annoying people who's trying to convert everybody. And so it's not been like challenging in that respect. In terms of health benefits, absolutely. I mean, I think I'm a healthy person anyway. I think I was healthy before I went vegan, but I think the final step for me was cutting out dairy, and I did feel like less congested and things, and I think, in terms of things like, it's naturally a lower cholesterol diet. And I hope I see the health benefits. But for me, it was more of a kind of an animal thing than doing it for health benefits. To me, that's just a bonus, really, because I guess you could eat a vegan junk food diet and you wouldn't see so many health benefits.
Absolutely. It's interesting. I think because a lot of runners, maybe their vegan choices has more of a health bent to it. But then, a lot of people are vegan because of the animals. Obviously, it's the overarching reason, but also now it's more of a sustainability thing as well, and kind of saving the planet. So for me, it's kind of a 3-pronged attack. The health, I suppose, for me was a happy accident. The fact that we are in an absolute climate crisis, and we're facing kind of Armageddon, and here we are all producing animals to eat just makes no sense to me. And then there's the welfare option as well, which is just, the way animals are treated is horrific. And I don't think people make that connection. And of course we're taught not to make that connection. We're conditioned, aren't we, to eat meat?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How does your family respond? Are they vegan, or do they eat meat? What's your family situation?
No. So, two of my children have gone vegetarian, and that was completely their choice. That they've always eaten, I guess you'd call it like a flexitarian diet. So my husband eats meat, which is his choice, but he eats a lot less meat, I think, because I do most of the cooking, and he really enjoys vegan and veggie foods, and I mean, I'd love it if they all went vegan. That would be amazing. But it's not my choice. It's for them to decide. And I just think, by making yummy food and showing them that vegans don't just eat grass, like the cliche, showing them they can eat amazing food, and like, but I just think that they don't. I don't know whether they categorize it as, oh, we're eating vegan today. It's just, we're having a 3-bean chili today, or we're having like sweet potato, or what, whatever. That I don't think they really kind of categorize it like that. It's just like we eat as a family, and then sometimes the kids might add cheese to something, or he might cook meat separate or something. So as a family, it's really interesting how we kind of balance that. But yeah, they definitely all eat a lot less meat than they would, I think. And my husband has said that to me. So I hope he's healthier as a result as well. It's hard, isn't it? Because when it's really important to you, you kind of want everyone to maybe be vegan as well. Are your family?
So I was going to say, it's really interesting because there are huge parallels between us, actually.
Yeah.
Similarly, I'm not I don't want to be a pushy vegan, basically, bottom line. I make the choice. It's my personal choice. I have my own personal reasons to do it. And yes, I'd love for my family to follow suit, because that's what I believe and what I think is the right choice. But equally, I understand that everybody, has the right to make that choice. So no, my daughter expressed an interest in going vegetarian, but she's 9 and she's still kind of a bit up and down with that. They all certainly eat less meat because, like you, I do the cooking. So I don't buy meat and I don't cook it. So if meat's on the agenda, then that's because my husband has chosen to cook some. But certainly he eats less and they're much healthier for it, I would say. But yeah, I don't want to press that on them. And I think that's with everybody, I'm vegan and I promote the fact I'm vegan, and I do that because I want to make changes, and I would love for everybody to follow suit. But equally, it's not my choice for them to do it. They've got to do it for themselves. So yeah, in terms of diet and how we eat, it sounds very similar to the way your family kind of works, actually. And yeah, so many parallels. Like I said, I mean, I came to ultra running a lot later on as well. I would call myself mid-back of packer, so I'm by no means fast. So yeah, I completely understand and kind of appreciate how you are living your life and being a vegan and being, promoting running and making it more inclusive for other women in your area as well, which I think is brilliant.
I think the inclusivity is so important. And I think that's something that has really changed in running over the last kind of 5, 6, 7 years or so, that, you do see more people of all speeds and abilities taking part in events, or not even just the events, just going out for a run. And I know a lot of women who are coming to running in their 40s or 50s, having not done anything since school. And they kind of, that kind of 80s PE mentality, where if you weren't good enough to be on the team, you were rubbish and there was no place for you. And I think a lot of women really lost their confidence with moving their body, and then they suddenly see that actually it doesn't matter if I'm not first, it doesn't matter if I'm last, I'm doing it. And I think there's been a real shift in mentality, which is really positive to see. Like, all those people who were let down by feeling like they weren't good enough for sports suddenly realize that actually I can do this.
Absolutely. And you set up the female running club in Cardiff, haven't you? And it's females only, which...
Well, there was a group of us. There's quite a big group of us who met through through the running community here, and so we've kind of set up She Runs Cardiff, just as an inclusive place for women. We're lucky in Cardiff. We've got a really amazing, vibrant running community here, but we felt that we wanted something for women that was inclusive to all women, and would just give them that safe space to run and make friends, and even things like going out on your own when it's dark, you can go in a group.
Yeah. I was going to ask, actually, did the running club that you and your friends kind of organised, did that come about because you felt that there wasn't anywhere where you kind of felt happy running in a group? Was it a bit too male orientated, or did you feel that there wasn't kind of the support you needed as female runners? What was the driving force behind setting up that group?
Yeah, I think we'd met through other clubs and things, and we just had this connection, and it was just trying to get something that was, so we call ourselves a social running club. So it's just about taking part, and we really promote. So we say party at the back for our slower runners, and we have the run buddies are the volunteers who help, and we have people who Jeff, so the kind of run walk method, and we have faster runners as well, and that's amazing. But it's kind of making it accessible to people, and perhaps for women there wasn't that in Cardiff previously, and it's been incredible. We launched just before, it's like 6 months before we all went into lockdown, so we were doing our social runs, and then suddenly we were all locked down and we couldn't meet up, so we really put a lot of effort into our online community, and we would set these these monthly challenges, like a bingo board, where you tick off things like run your usual route in reverse, or do a run to somewhere new, just like little things just to try and inspire people, and then so the online community really grew through that, and then now randomly we have women from all over the world who just like our ethos, and
that's amazing.
That's amazing. It is amazing.
Fantastic. So you say you got people from all around the world. Can they get involved virtually as well with the club?
Yeah, so whereas we used to, so when we originally started, we had our Wednesday and our Sunday in-person runs. When we went virtual, we kind of put those online, so it's like a virtual Wednesday run, and you just post a selfie and put it on the virtual roundup. And so whereas before we'd have a photo of all of us together, then we'd have just like a little collage of everybody running separately, and it was just like a way of feeling together. And then so when we were able to start running in person again, we still have the virtual run club. So we have one lady who's in New Zealand, this a lady who's in India, and they just kind of come across us on social media. We've got quite a few women in various parts of England who've just kind of maybe come to an event and seen us or whatever, and we're like friends of friends and stuff. And so, yeah, it's just grown really organically. And because it's like us doing it, we're able to respond to what the members want. And one thing that people were telling us was, I'd like to do trail running, but I don't know where to start. So some of our run leaders started doing like beginner trail sessions, and it's just that inclusivity, because if you've never done something like that before, you don't know where to start. You don't know where's safe. You don't want to trip up on your own and fall over a tree root or whatever. But if you're in a group with someone, it just feels so much more accessible and fun as well. I think that's the other thing. That's fun.
Brilliant. It's definitely got a social element to it, hasn't it, your club, and making...
Oh, it's really lovely.
The whole safety issue with female runners, Cathryn, do you have kind of an opinion on whether or not women should be running on their own, and if it's better for them to run in a group? I mean, my defiant side always says to me, why should I not be able to go and run on my own in the dark if I want to? And I do run on my own all the time. That's my choice. But I have to say, when the sun goes down, it's not a place I feel comfortable, actually. Whereas if I speak to my husband, he would not think at all about going out in the night. He's quite happy just to go out at whatever hour. What's your feelings on that? Do you think that it's right that we should be thinking about our safety all the time, or do you think that maybe we shouldn't have to do that anymore?
I mean, it's not right, is it? There's nothing that's right about us having to fear going out for a run, but sadly, we do. And I get really angry when, when you see the advice for women, and it's like, actually, the advice is for men. Men, don't attack women, don't follow women, don't catcall women. That's where the advice should be. And I know there has been a kind of a campaign in Wales that was taking that on board, really, and saying to men that that this isn't acceptable. And I think that education is really important. And similar to you, like, my husband wouldn't think twice about going out to run in the night, and I run a lot on my own, but there's places that I wouldn't go on my own. And we went out for a run together recently. He's like, "Oh, let's go down here," and I was like, "I would never go down here, this was kind of off the beaten track on my own." And it just hadn't occurred to him. And I feel really angry about it, Laura, because it's like, we shouldn't have to make those sacrifices. We should be able to run where we want. But then, if it was just me and I had no other responsibilities, perhaps I'd be a bit more kind of carefree. But I've got 3 children, and you do have to think, well, I have to think about my safety. I shouldn't have to, but I do. And yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I don't know what the answer is. I think education of men is, that sounds really awful saying that, doesn't it? But there needs to be a massive campaign of addressing the underlying issues. I mean, why is this happening? Why are women being attacked?
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very difficult topic to kind of nail the answer to, really. There was a point where I was running, and I remember I would be going out with my Garmin tracker on so that my husband could see where I was at any point if he needed to. And I was wearing one of these Run Angel wristband alarms, and I'd be wearing all the head torches and the high vis, which you should be doing anyway at night, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman. And, then thinking to myself, well, maybe I should take a pole with me to go running, because then if I'm attacked, I can jab somebody. And then I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? Why am I having to arm myself, in preparation for just basically going for a jog around the town or on a trail or something? Whereas this isn't the same. It's not equal, is it, for a man? And it's again, I think it's something that we're conditioned to. I always remember, my dad would always say to me, "Oh, give us a call when you get here," or "Don't go out dressed like that at night." And these things kind of become slowly, drip, 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 normalized. And then as a woman, you think, oh, it's my responsibility to look after myself, to make sure that I'm safe. Well, actually, it's not our responsibility to do that. It's society's responsibility to not attack the woman when she's out running. That's where the problem is, isn't it? And I'm the same as you. It makes me so cross that the blame is always laid on the woman for not protecting herself enough, or, wearing the wrong thing, or looking the wrong way, or not paying attention. Where actually we're not committing the crime. And yeah, I could get right on my soapbox about this, but I'm not sure now's the best time. But I'm interested to hear your views. Having a fully female running club, I can see how a lot of women feel more able to run. That shouldn't necessarily be the case. They should feel happy to run, on their own if they wanted to. But in this society, I think what you've done is a really good thing to create that safe space for them.
And that's kind of you to say. Thank you. We're still evolving as a club. We're still learning and kind of figuring out what works best. But yeah, it seems to be going really well.
That's fantastic. And you don't just run your running club. You've also got your Cardiff Mummy Says. You do your Instagram, and you do a lot of stuff with your kids and put bits and pieces up about going out and about in Cardiff and Wales, don't you? Does that take up a lot of your time?
Yeah, I love writing Cardiff Mummy Says. So my background is in journalism, and when I had my children, that there was just nothing for families, and I was kept missing out on things because I didn't know they were happening. And they say in journalism, write about what you know, and there was nowhere for me I could write about parenting. And so this is back in 2014 when my third child was born, I just thought, I'm going to set up a blog. So, it was becoming quite a big thing then. And so I thought, I'll give it a go. And I think, with my kind of journalism background, it took off really quickly. And I'm still doing it now, 9 years on. I never dreamed it would still be going. But I think it's interesting because my followers, their children are growing as my children grow. And the things I used to write about now aren't necessarily things I wrote about then aren't necessarily what I write about now. So it's been lovely how it's evolved. And I'm just really passionate about getting out and about and discovering new places. And it's really lovely when, you post a blog or like an Instagram post on something and people are like, oh, I went here after you wrote about it and it was lovely and I'd never heard of it before. And it's just, there's so many amazing places that you might not be aware of. And just kind of exploring, and I love being in the outdoors. And some of the things I've written about, we've climbed a few mountains as a family, so like Penavon and Cadair Idris, both here in Wales. And just people thinking, oh wow, that's a great idea to climb a mountain with your kids, and you're just showing that it's accessible. And
and again, you're just saying I climbed a mountain with my kids. It's like running an ultra. To loads of people, they would say, what? I can't run an ultra. That's impossible. That's so hard to do. How on earth would I do that? Where would I start? A lot of families would think, gosh, a mountain, that's a massive undertaking. My children wouldn't want to walk up one. What's the point? How can I do that? And you're actually showing people that you can do it. And actually the children really enjoy it if you pick a nice day, I guess, or, you choose the right moment. Exactly. There are ways of achieving all these things, which is fantastic.
Sometimes it's just seeing someone else doing it, isn't it, that makes you think, oh, actually,
absolutely,
why not?
I mean, it's really funny for me, I've got to say, because it's almost like talking to the Welsh version of me, because I don't know if you know, but so I'm a journalist. My background is journalism, and I work in PR, much like you. Started running, a lot later in life, became vegan later in life. And I'm thinking, I set up my blog and my podcast, Vegan Fitness Runner, because I thought, gosh, I'm not really reading anything that resonates with me currently. And I suppose I have things that I want to say. Whether or not people want to listen to them is a different matter. But it's about showing people that, mums of a certain age, I suppose, we're not kind of dead and buried. We have a lot to give and a lot of knowledge to share, and actually we can achieve really amazing things. And I personally, I find that we're in a kind of an age category now that I feel is almost a little bit forgotten. We get forgotten about. We're mums, and that's how people maybe see us a lot of the time, but we're not people in our own right. And that's why I think it's really important to show that, we as people can do incredible things, aside from the fact that we do all this other stuff around it too. And the fact that you have run 4 ultra marathons is absolutely incredible, and that you're running Cardiff Mummy Says as well alongside that, and you do all this writing, and they're really incredible things that I think inspire other people. And being vegan as well, an ambassador for the animals is great. And hopefully I would, I certainly aspire to do the same thing, really, and get people on board with my thinking.
Well, I've loved discovering your account as well. It's been amazing, and I watching you do the Dragon's Back, which is just a phenomenal challenge, and I still don't think that's on my radar at the moment. But you never know who you're inspiring, who looks at you and think, she's just like me. She's my age. She's a mum. She can go and do this, and it does get people thinking that it's not. You don't have to be this like 20-year-old professional athlete to do it. You can be an older woman, you can be a mum, it's just making it accessible. And that's one of the, social media does have a lot of downsides, but that's one of the things I do love. It's just the inspiration everywhere, and the people I might not have met. Like, I don't think we would have met unless we'd met on a race or something, but like connecting with people and having these connections, it can be so inspiring.
Absolutely. That's so true. And a lot of people that I have met that inspire me most are actually, well into their 60s, maybe even their 70s. These women who are still absolutely smashing it out the park and getting out there and doing these races. And they, to me, are my inspiration. And yeah, meeting like-minded people like yourself, which, social media is great for, isn't it? We didn't have this before, and now we have a network out there where we can connect and learn new things and be inspired by these new people, which is exactly what you're doing. So in terms of looking forward now, Cathryn, you said you haven't got anything penciled in the diary just yet for your running.
Well, I've got Cardiff Half Marathon, which is coming up in a few weeks, which is one that I always love doing. It's just an amazing supported event. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing in the calendar at the moment.
I bet you give it a couple of weeks and we'll be hearing that Cathryn Scott is about to run some epic ultra somewhere in the country.
Likewise with you as well.
What's next? Well, listen, we shall watch this space. I really look forward to seeing what you're doing next. And it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you online and to chat to you today, Cathryn. Take care.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this as well. I've really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to leave a review for the Vegan Fitness Runner podcast. Please subscribe if you don't want to miss an episode, and remember you can find out more about all my guests and further information on all the topics covered over on the website veganfitnessrunner.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.